I always hated how perfect my life looked from the outside. The white picket fence, the Pinterest-level engagement photos, the too-good-to-be-true fiancé, the, "oh wow, you don't even look old enough to have a daughter that age," compliments that made me want to scream. Because they were right. I had my daughter Ava when I was just 28. And now, at 45, people said I looked like her older sister. But I didn't feel it. I felt older, heavier, tired, especially when I saw the way people looked at her and then looked at me, like I was the before picture and she was the glossy after, but I digress. Let's rewind to 6 months ago, back when I still believed in brunch dates and mutual bank accounts, back when I still believed that Thomas, my fiancé, was my last chance at love. Yeah, that Thomas. He was everything I thought I wanted. Tall, charming, successful. A real estate agent who could sell ice to a snowman. The kind of man who knew exactly how to flatter me without making it sound like flattery. "You're radiant, Jill. Honestly, I think you're getting younger. Cute. Rehearsed. Dangerous." We met at a charity gala for cancer survivors. I was there because my sister was one. He was there because, well, networking. He slipped me his card between the shrimp cocktail and the keynote speech. 1 week later, we were having wine in my backyard. 3 months after that, he moved in. 8 months after that, he proposed. You're probably thinking I moved too fast. Maybe I did. But he made me feel wanted, desired, relevant. Like I wasn't just Ava's mom or some overworked nurse with tired feet and a permanent dent in her shoulder from my handbag. With Thomas, I felt like a woman again, or so I thought. Ava, for her part, was complicated, beautiful, moody, distant. We were close when she was younger, but something shifted around her sophomore year. Suddenly, I wasn't cool anymore, or trustworthy, or worth listening to. She had secrets and sharp edges and playlists full of songs that sounded like cries for help, if you listened closely enough. Thomas tried, or said he did. "I think she's just testing you," he'd say with that therapist voice he used when trying to be wise. Girls at that age push boundaries. Push boundaries. Right. You could say that again. I remember the first time I felt something was off. It was small. Insignificant, really. Ava walked into the kitchen in one of those tiny pajama sets. The kind that looked more like lingerie than sleepwear. Thomas was at the counter, pouring coffee. I was at the sink. She yawned, stretched, bent over to grab something from the floor. And he looked. Just for a second. But it was there. The flicker, the flash, the male gaze. I told myself I imagined it, because the alternative was unthinkable. I even joked about it later. "You better stop checking out my daughter or I'll dump you for someone older," I said with a smirk. He laughed too loud. "You're insane," he said. "Seriously, Jill, don't be weird. Weird." Okay. Then came the little things. Her phone lighting up with his name at midnight. A towel left in his car. Her towel, unmistakably, that she must have forgotten after he gave her a ride home from practice. Her perfume lingering on his jacket. Vanilla and cheap rebellion. Still, I convinced myself I was being paranoid. I mean, who does that? Who sleeps with their fiancé's teenage daughter? Sick people. Monsters. Not Thomas. He was charming, attentive. He brought me roses. He rubbed my feet after long shifts. He let me cry about my mother's Alzheimer's and didn't flinch when I got mascara on his shirt. But suspicion. It has a smell. It's sour, metallic, like blood in your mouth after biting your tongue too hard. It grew inside me like a mold, invisible at first, then spreading. One night I got up to pee and noticed the guest room light on. Thomas wasn't in bed. Ava wasn't in hers either. I padded down the hallway, slow and silent. The door to the guest room wasn't fully closed. Inside, I saw shadows, movement, and then voices, soft, breathy, familiar. I backed away, slowly, like a ghost. My hands were shaking. My skin felt too tight. I climbed back into bed and stared at the ceiling for hours, pretending I hadn't just heard my world splitting open at the seams. The next morning, they were both at the table, eating cereal, laughing at something on her phone. Thomas looked up at me and smiled like nothing happened. "Sleep okay, babe?" I stared at him, then at her. "Didn't hear a thing last night," I said slowly. Her eyes flicked to mine. Brief. Calculated. Guess the melatonin worked. I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled, because I needed proof, not just suspicion, not just the whispering paranoia in my head. Cold, hard evidence. So I became a detective. I checked his phone when he was in the shower. He had it locked, of course. But people are stupid, especially men in love with themselves. His passcode was his birthday. Classic. I opened his messages and found what I needed in less than 2 minutes. Ava. Her name. He had her saved as Coach Taylor, which would have been clever if he weren't a complete idiot. I opened the thread and nearly vomited. Photos, messages, voice notes, things I can't unsee or unread. I wish you were sleeping in my bed tonight. You looked so hot in that skirt today. Don't wear panties next time I pick you up. My daughter, my baby, the girl I gave birth to, and the man I was going to marry. I closed the phone, placed it gently back where I found it, and walked into the kitchen like everything was fine, because I wasn't going to scream. Not yet. Not until I had a plan. And oh, I was going to have a plan. From that moment, I stopped being a woman. I became a strategist, a general preparing for war. I pretended everything was fine. I smiled. I kissed him. I thanked him for dinner. I complimented his new haircut. I played my part like an actress gunning for an Oscar. And meanwhile, I watched them. Ava tried to be slick. The fake yawns when he was around, the giggles, the extra hugs. Once I caught her texting and her whole body jerked when I walked in. She dropped the phone so fast you'd think it was on fire. Thomas, for his part, got cocky. That's the thing about men like him. They always think they're smarter than you, that they've already won, that their lies are airtight, and their little secrets will stay buried. He had no idea I was digging the whole time, recording things, tracking things, screenshotting, archiving. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Carol, who had the emotional range of a brick and the investigative skills of a bloodhound. Within 2 weeks, she gave me a file thicker than a Bible, photos, texts, timestamps, hotel receipts, parking lot footage, the works. Turns out, they weren't even discreet. He'd taken her to motels, bought her lingerie, taken selfies with her, in his car. The same car he used to pick me up for our anniversary dinner. Every time I thought I'd reached my limit, I turned the page and found a new reason to hate him. But the worst part? Ava looked happy in those photos. Not scared. Not coerced. Just pleased. Smug. That broke me more than anything else. I wasn't just betrayed. I was replaced. But that's the funny thing about pain. It either destroys you or fuels you. And I'm not the destroying kind. I'm the burn your life down and smile while it happens kind. So I waited and planned. Because revenge, it's a dish best served family style. Let me tell you something about betrayal. It doesn't kill you. Not right away. It's slow. Like poison in your morning coffee. Like a hairline crack in your windshield. You keep driving, pretending everything's fine, until the whole thing shatters and cuts you to ribbons. And that's exactly what I plan to do with them. Watch them drive toward the cliff, smiling, oblivious, until it was too damn late. But to do that, I had to keep playing the game. Keep smiling. Keep cooking dinner. Keep pretending I wasn't aware that my fiancé was screwing my teenage daughter while I folded their laundry. The hardest part? Looking at Ava. I didn't know who she was anymore. Or maybe I never did. She used to sleep with a nightlight. Cry when she lost a tooth. Sing off key in the back seat. And now she was wearing lip gloss that smelled like desperation and betrayal. I started noticing everything. The way she hovered around him when I left. The room. The way he looked at her like she was a prize he won, and I was the consolation. The way they shared glances during dinner, as if I were the third wheel at my own table. But they were stupid, arrogant. They thought I was blind. They thought they were careful. They had no idea I was already 6 steps ahead. So I waited and collected. More photos, more proof. I even installed a tiny camera in the hallway, disguised as a smoke detector. Caught them sneaking into the guest room at 2:12 a.m. on a Tuesday while I pretended to snore in my bed. And the best part? He told me he was going to bed early that night because he had a headache. Oh, I bet he did. Anyway, I took all of this, the texts, the photos, the receipts, and made a lovely little presentation. PowerPoint, actually. I added animations, transitions, a soundtrack. It was like betrayal had its own TED Talk. Then came the hard part. Waiting for the perfect moment to show it. And trust me, the moment came. It always does. Thomas's 42nd birthday was approaching, and because I'm such a loving, devoted fiancé, I offered to throw him a little party, just a small thing. Family, a few of his co-workers, my sister, his mom, bless her narcissistic soul. Ava, of course, because what would a party be without the guest of dishonor? He beamed when I suggested it, said I was the best thing that ever happened to him. That line aged like milk. I spent a week planning everything. Bought decorations. Ordered his favorite cake. Red velvet with cream cheese frosting. Hired a photographer to capture the memories. Booked a private room at a nice restaurant downtown with a big projector, screen on the wall. You see where this is going. The day arrived. Everyone dressed up. Ava wore a red dress that made me want to throw bleach in my eyes. Thomas looked smug and shiny. I wore a smile so fake I could have sold it as plastic. We ate, toasted, sang happy. Birthday. Took 1,000,000 photos. Then I tapped my fork against a glass. Before we bring out the cake, I said sweetly, I put together something special for Thomas. A little walk down memory lane. He smiled. Everyone clapped. The projector flickered on, and for the first 5 seconds, it did look like a slideshow of memories. Cute couple photos, us at the beach, on a hike, holding hands in Central Park. Then came the twist. Photo of Thomas's car in a motel parking lot. Next slide. Ava walking out of the same motel, adjusting her shirt. Next slide. A screenshot of their text exchange. Thomas: "You looked so sexy in that red dress today." Ava: "You make me feel hotter than boys my age." Then audio. A voice note from him. Thomas: "Your mom has no idea. She's clueless. I'd marry you instead if I could." The room went silent. I watched as his smile died, watched Ava's face go pale. His mom gasped. My sister said, "What the hell? And Thomas?" He stood up, knocked his glass over. "Jill, what is this?" I cocked my head. "Your birthday present." Surprise. Ava tried to grab the remote. Too late. I had full control from my phone. Slide after slide, the betrayal unfolded like a soap opera written by Satan. Hotel bookings. Selfies. One truly horrifying mirror photo of them in a motel bathroom that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. His boss was there. So was his client, a church lady with a foundation Thomas worked with. Everyone stared. He tried to talk, to explain, but no words came out. Just gasps and a pitiful attempt to unplug the projector. I raised a hand. "Don't bother. It's Bluetooth. Welcome to the 21st century, jackass." Ava fled first, red dress flashing down the hallway like a warning sign. Thomas followed, yelling her name. No one clapped, no one laughed, but someone, bless them, did whistle low and mutter, "Damn." I stood there, basking in the wreckage. Then I took the cake, his favorite, and smashed it against the wall. "Oops," I said. "Guess I'm not much of a baker." They moved out the next day. Yes. Ava packed her things without a word. No apology, no explanation. Just that same smug silence she'd worn for months. Thomas tried to talk. "I made a mistake," he said. "I'm sick. I need help." "Yeah," I replied. "Try a bullet." Not my finest moment, but I wasn't in the mood for therapy speak. He left, tail between his legs. They moved in together a week later. That's right, he dumped me, and my house, and played daddy husband with my daughter in some one-bedroom apartment on the edge of town. The local gossip mills had a field day, teachers whispered. Neighbors avoided eye contact. Her school suspended her pending psychological evaluation. He lost his biggest client. His mother blocked him. And me? I thrived. I went back to school, changed careers, got a better job, started sleeping again, smiling again, took a trip to Italy, got my hair done, my body back, my spine back. And every time I started to miss them, the fake love, the toxic silence, the decay I once called a family, I replayed the slideshow, my magnum opus. But the story wasn't over yet. Because karma is good. But I'm better. A few months later, Ava came knocking, literally. It was raining. She was alone. Her makeup was smeared. She looked like a raccoon caught in a Lifetime movie. I didn't invite her in. She stood there on the porch shaking. "I left him," she said. I blinked. "Why?" "He stopped giving you bedtime stories?" She flinched. "I made a mistake, Mom." I smiled. "Which one? Dating your mother's fiancé?" or thinking it would end well. She looked down. I need a place to stay. I sipped my wine. No. She blinked. What? I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Let me be clear, Ava. You're not my daughter anymore. You're not welcome here. You chose him. And now you live with that. But nothing. Actions have consequences. You thought you were grown enough to steal a man, be grown enough to suffer the fallout. Her lip quivered. You don't mean that. I leaned in. Sweetheart, I meant it the moment I pressed play on that slideshow. I went back inside, left her on the porch. She never came back. As for Thomas, last I heard he was unemployed. Dumped, blacklisted, living with his brother in Ohio. Apparently Ava cheated on him with a guy her age. Go figure. He sent me an email once. Long. Pitiful. Full of apologies and typos. I marked it as spam, but not before replying with a photo of me holding a wine glass in front of a roaring fire. Caption? Cheers to your midlife crisis. Hope it was worth it. Because betrayal might hurt. But revenge heals. You'd think the story ended with Ava sobbing on my porch, and Thomas getting dumped by the very teenager he wrecked his life for. But no. People like them don't know when to stay gone. Like cockroaches, they always find a crack to crawl back through. So imagine my face when, 6 months later, I walk into a local fundraiser, wearing heels I couldn't afford last year, and a silk dress that said, I'm thriving. And I see them. Yes, them, Thomas in a wrinkled blazer, Ava in a plain black dress that looked like regret in fabric form. She'd dyed her hair brown. He'd gained weight. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy that part. They saw me, too. She looked away. He didn't. He smiled. Actually smiled, like we were friends running into each other at the grocery store and not the stars of a live-action Greek tragedy. I poured myself a drink and pretended they didn't exist. But of course, that wasn't enough for Thomas, because narcissists are like vampires. They need permission to die and someone else to blame. So he approached me. Jill, he said, like the name tasted foreign. You look great. I took a slow sip of my wine. You look employed? He chuckled, nervously. I'm actually consulting now. Translation. No one will hire me permanently because I have a reputation for sleeping with high school seniors. He motioned to Ava, who stood awkwardly near the snack table. We're, working things out. How sweet, I said. Trying adult relationships now? He flinched. Good. Then came the punchline. We were hoping we could talk to you. We, I repeated. As in the girl who blew up her own family and the man who groomed her? He blinked. That's not what happened. Oh, you're right. I forgot. You were just showing her how to do her taxes. In a motel. At midnight. He dropped the smile. I've changed, he said. We both have. We're sorry. We want to make amends. And I laughed. Not just a polite chuckle. A full, from the belly, slightly unhinged laugh that made heads turn. You want to make amends? I asked. He nodded. I leaned in. Then disappear. But of course they didn't. They did the opposite. 2 weeks later, my neighbor Sheila called me while I was mid-pedicure. Jill? She said. You're not going to believe who just moved into the house across the street. I knew before she said it. Thomas and Ava. They moved in with Thomas's cousin, who apparently had no idea about the scandal. Or maybe he did, and just liked collecting walking disasters. I watched them from my window like I was in some suburban Hitchcock thriller. They smiled. They waved. Ava even had the audacity to send over a plate of cookies, as a peace offering. Gave them to the raccoons. Let them get diarrhea. Karma needed help, clearly. So I gave her a little push. You see, revenge doesn't always have to be loud. Sometimes it's quiet, surgical, elegant, like ruining their credit scores. Which, by the way, I could still access. Thomas had never changed his banking passwords. Lazy? Maybe. But useful. I didn't steal. I didn't touch a dime. I just downloaded his entire transaction history and sent it to the IRS, with an anonymous tip. That anonymous was me. He'd been underreporting income for years. Guess that consulting gig wasn't just a euphemism. It was also under the table. A few months later, he got audited. Bye-bye, savings. Bye-bye, new truck. Hello, panic attack. As for Ava, she still tried to win me over. Left little notes in my mailbox. I miss you, Mom. Can we talk? I was young and stupid. Yes, you were. But not stupid enough to not know what you were doing when you were sneaking into my fiancé's bed. No, Ava, you weren't stupid. You were cruel, and cruelty has a price. Her college applications? I had access to those too. One of the perks of having paid her common app fees before the betrayal. So I wrote a few corrections, updated some of her essays. Let's just say the admissions boards got a much clearer picture of her character. Harsh? Maybe. But I wasn't about to let her waltz into a fresh start while I was still scrubbing the blood off the walls of the life she burned down. Her acceptance letters turned into rejection emails. She didn't even know why. But I did. And God, it felt good. You'd think they'd move away after that. But no. They clung to that house like barnacles on a sinking ship, watched them spiral. Thomas took a job at a used car lot. Ava got a part-time gig at a coffee shop where every teenager in town whispered about her in the break room. One night, I came home to find them screaming in the driveway. Public meltdown. It was glorious. She threw a phone at him. He called her a child. She screamed that he ruined her life. Ah, young love. It dies so beautifully. Then finally, the cherry on top. I got invited to speak at a women's empowerment gala. They asked me to talk about resilience, career rebuilding, and healing from betrayal. Oh, sweet irony, the event was televised. Small local channel. But enough people watched it, including Thomas and Ava. I told the crowd my story. Didn't use names. But everyone knew who I meant. Described. A woman rebuilding herself after being betrayed in the most grotesque, Shakespearean way possible. Talked about how people confuse forgiveness with access. And then I dropped the line that went viral. I didn't lose a daughter. I removed a tumor. The crowd gasped, clapped, stood. A local reporter wrote about it the next day, called it the most powerful moment of the night. Ava blocked me on everything after that. Thomas tried to sue, said I was defaming him. His lawyer dropped him after I forwarded the slideshow. He never filed. Now, I don't think about them much. Their house is empty now. Rumor is they broke up for good. She moved to another state. He moved in with his parents. Again. Sometimes people ask me if I regret it. If I feel bad for destroying them so thoroughly. But let me ask you something. When you find mold in your house, do you leave it? Do you talk to it? Reason with it? No. You burn it and you start over. That's what I did. I burned the rot, and I planted something new.